I'm fine.
Day 4 of our 14 Days of Christmas. Talk Smart with
PUGH.
I'm McCART. I'm Andrew McCART. That's Joe Pugh. This is day 4 of our 14 days until Christmas. And we're doing each day, we're doing awards of 2023, whether it be Fight of the Year, Coach of the Year, Event of the Year, Knockout of the Year, Prospect of the Year, blah, 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 blah. But today is Event of the Year.
Yes.
And a lot of people might think this is an easy one with Francis Ngannou. And I think that's probably is going to be the easiest one with everything that went along with that. You had every megastar in boxing, every megastar in MMA, every megastar in football, wrestling, just there having a good time. And it was just a surreal, especially watching it on the TV, was just a surreal sort of spectacle to witness. And but there should be a couple of little gems, personal gems of ours, Joe. And I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah, look, I think when we look back at the end of the year, I think Day of Reckoning could change that, looking at some of the promos, looking at the posters. But as of the 16th of December, we're nearly at the end of the year. When we're filming it, it could be Battle of the Baddest, Fury and Ngannou. Oh, it was unbelievable. It was a show. It was epic. It was just had absolutely everything. But I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. But I've got a few. I want to go back, same country, Saudi Arabia. Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. Whatever you think of that fight, that was wild. I was out there for that fight. I couldn't believe what I was seeing when you just kind of got Jake Paul mixing it around with Mike Tyson just in lobbies. It was absolutely crazy. Yeah, complete and utter little fight kind of fair going on around it with like rides outside the arena. Absolutely wild. And then I think you can't ignore it. You've got to go with the prime card. Absolute crazy misfits. When you look at KSI versus Tommy Fury, it had gigs, it had a Lamborghini for a ring walk, it had everything. It had shirts and caps on every seat, 20,000 in at 6 o'clock. Yeah, one of the best atmospheres, and kind of going all the way around the other side of the world of quite a long time ago now, and I think people forget it. Canelo versus John Ryder, the homecoming. That I weren't there, sounded like nothing I ever heard. But Andy, yeah, what's your thoughts on those? And
Well, I
have
was
you
going to
got any
mention
others?
I wasn't at Canelo John Ryder either,
Mm.
but that was an event in itself as well. When you've got uh, Canelo going home as a homecoming, and what was it, 50 odd thousand in the
Mm.
Azteca Arena or something along them lines. And I've been at 4 Canelo fights. I was lucky enough to be there for his whole campaign to become undisputed super middleweight, from Cam Smith at the start
Yeah,
until Caleb Plant at the end. I was at every single fight and I witnessed it. I was at the Miami Dolphins stadium when he fought Yildirim in the February of 2021, and that was just Yildirim, and that stadium was packed out. And he had fireworks and stuff like that. But that was 2021. It wasn't 2023. So I can only imagine what the Azteca was like, if that was what the Miami Dolphins was like. But a little personal one for me, I'm going to go right back to, I think it was the 21st of January, was Liam Smith against Chris Eubank Jr. 1, because it just had that big fight feel to it.
mm.
Do you know what I mean? And that was, it's because it was the start of the new year. And I think I was a little bit quiet in 2022. And when I had that big fight feel, I just felt like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for a good wee while now, after having that 2020. Like 2021 for me was the best, probably the best year of my life in IFL TV, with all the American trips and all and whatnot. But 2022 was quite quiet. And then 2023 started off with a bang with Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr. 1. And like I said, it just had that big fight feel, and there was no love lost between the two of them. They both hate each other. Well, not hate each other, maybe that's a strong word, but you've just got two personalities, which is the polar opposite. You couldn't put Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr. in a pub or a coffee shop and think, just have a chat, and they wouldn't get on.
Yeah.
They just, then two personalities just don't mix. Do you know what I mean? And that was the fuel that we needed for a great fight. And yeah, I love that big fight feel. But I think when we're talking about the event, right? And when you think of an event, right, it's more than just the fights inside the ring, isn't it, Joe? It's the press conference, it's the weigh-in, it's the fight week, everything along them lines. And when you look at the Battle of the Baddest with Tyson Fury and Ngannou, I mean, that's hard to pick against that. It really, really is. When, like I said, you had Sugar Ray Leonard, you had Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, you had Chuck Liddell from the MMA world. You had all these absolute monsters of the fight game. Then you had Cristiano Ronaldo, Conor McGregor rolling up. You had, gosh, Vince McMahon and The Undertaker rolling up. So you've got like I probably missed a good couple of names there, Joe. You've probably got a couple that you could remind me of, but that was just insane. And then you had the big photo of the banquet on the Friday night where everybody is there. Every single person that was invited out to Saudi Arabia at the time was just there, and it was just you're just looking, going, wow, 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 wow. Look at all them big names that are there. Then it was the event. You had the fights, the undercard on the outside. Then you moved on the inside. Then you had all these rappers and whatnot rapping. The ring came out off the floor. The fight maybe wasn't the best, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the event, the whole thing,
Yeah.
the fight week, and I think that, like you said to you, the day of reckoning that's happening next week, that might be better, bigger and better. Well, the Joshua and Wilder and whatnot being on it, but again, this is what the middle of December, so we've still got 2 weeks left of this year, and there's still some big fights to come. But as of today, I think that you've got to go with Battle of the Band, surely, Joe.
Yeah, it's the first one that comes to mind. It's hard to argue, but there's been some great events as we have discussed. But I think take away the guest list that you spoke about, and I know everyone has their thoughts on the fight, very, very polarizing. But at the end of the day, it is still one of the biggest names in boxing against one of the biggest names in UFC. It's
Mm,
a huge crossover event which will attract way more, like millions more than a standard unification world title fight.
mm,
But that's the being and end all of it. And when you put those guys in a ring, surrounded by those people, and put on this absolutely amazing production, people forget separate ring, separate arena, undercard, and main event.
mm.
Absolutely unbelievable. And hopefully that was just a little kind of glimpse of what we're gonna see on the 23rd and then in February for the undisputed fight.
Definitely. And you've got to give like Spence Crawford and Tank Davis Garcia shout out as well. We weren't at them fights, but when you're talking about Vegas fight weeks and events, man, they're massive. So obviously give them a huge shout out as well. But again, like you just said there, Joe, Day of Reckoning was just
Yeah.
unbelievable. I was checking YouTube every 10 minutes to see if anything had popped off. I was checking IFL to see what videos were going up, to see who's there and what's happening. And then obviously you had the zone coverage, not the zone, the TNT coverage. So yeah, it was just a spectacular event. And yeah, like I said, there's still 2 weeks of this year left. We've still got big fights coming up. We've still got these shows that we're probably people going to come back and say, listen, you forgot about that. But they don't understand. We're filming it 2 weeks left of the year, but I think Day of Reckoning is going to be hard to beat, even with Battle of the Band is going to be hard to beat, even with the Day of Reckoning coming up. I just think that was just the first major big event in Saudi Arabia, and he went all out, I think.
Yeah. I know they've got obscene amounts of money, but just imagine that for every show out there. Just the
Mm,
concerts, everything. And as well, because it was the first one of that magnitude, I probably don't think every time we'll get all of those people because they're very big, busy people, and obviously trying to fit Saudi Arabia in their schedule is hard. So I think maybe everything just all come together, and you just had that amount of people there for the big first one. But we'll wait and see.
mm-hmm. Well, that was yesterday was easy. Today was easy, obviously, with the trainer and event of the year. But we'll be back
Yes.
again. Give you our what's next for us, Joe. What we're looking at next? Because I might have to do some research.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Shall we have a look? Shall we have a look?
Yeah, let's have a look.
We've got some big ones coming up. Let's have a look. And it is not working. So tomorrow there will be another episode, best of 2023. I'll tell you, Andy, so we can get the research in. But yeah, you'll have to wait and see for tomorrow. But as ever, get your comments in below. What was the best event you've been to this year? Because we know everyone has their favourites.
Best event I've been to this year. it would probably have to be the Smith Eubanks, just
Yeah.
because of the both fights, just because of the build up between the two of them. Like I say, they don't like each other. The personalities were just so different. Yeah, and there was just a lot riding on the second one, a lot riding on the first one. It was just two big fights that I'd been to. Yeah, I would say that that's what comes to mind. There's probably a couple of small hole shows that probably kicked in a little bit, that had a little bit of a vibe to it, but they're the only two fights that really come to mind for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll have to go the big ones. I'll have to go KSI Tommy Fury and Tommy
Mm,
Fury versus Jake Paul just because the magnitude.
mm,
But I do think Darren Reckoning's going to beat them all. So I
yeah.
think you'll have the last laugh, Andy. I think you will.
Well, I'm driving down to Stansted from Glasgow tomorrow, so it's going to be a long drive to that airport. But what we've got to do, Joe, to get these flights and get to these shows, well, not so much you, but for me, when I live so far north, it's unreal. But I do it for the love of the game, as per. But Joe, until the next one,
Yep,
remember
I'll
to leave a
see
comment.
you
Let us
soon.
know. Let us know what you think. If you agree with us, if you don't agree with us, you know what to do. Leave a comment. And Joe, I'll salute you, son.
Yep.
I'll see you soon.
Enjoy the drive.
I'm fine.